everybody, and a very well welcome to One Hub Racing Season 27. We are at round 5 of the championship, and we're going to get a little bit of a sprinkle today at the Ardennes Forest. It is the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me once again, it is Mike Edwards. Mike, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Jess. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be a very interesting race with the conditions that we have in store for us tonight.
Of course, yes, because if you watched the pre-race show, which was on at 12 o'clock today, the weather wheel spoken, and in qualifying it's going to be wet to clear, and in the race it's going to be wet to overcast to very wet. And we've seen in both tiers this evening how a different lobby could produce different conditions on when people can pit. So people just can't rely on watching the lower two tiers and think, yep, that's the right strategy, because you never know, this tier could be completely different.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. You never know when the rain is going to come, and you don't know how quickly the track will dry up as well. Including right now in qualifying, obviously it is raining at the moment, but you don't know just how many laps in dry conditions you're going to get. Like, you may not even be able to get to the dry conditions. It might be too wet for the slicks. You just don't know.
Yeah, in pretty much all the sessions we've had, it was starting to dry up with 10 minutes to go. So I think that's what we're going to potentially see today. So without further ado, let's get into the qualifying session. And you can already tell that it's chock-a-block out there. And apologies again, my stream deck is being an idiot. Oh, and my game has just had a bit. Oh, nope. It was deciding to have a paddy. Go on, game. Please work. Yeah, my game is deciding to not work for some reason. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that now. So we've got 17 drivers here, of course. We've got a few familiar names. Now, last week, you would have noticed that Alex won the race, but he got disqualified due to him forgetting to do the two stocks. So One Hub Racing, we do it slightly differently to other leagues where it's mandatory to stop. And unfortunately, he skimmed through it and forgot. And he's looking to redeem himself today, of course, here, because he had very good pace last week in the dry, but we haven't seen what it's like in the wet, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Alex is going to be looking for redemption here tonight after what happened last week in Monza, that is for sure. A lot of obviously very experienced drivers when it comes to these wet conditions. Obviously, Axel Lock, a very experienced driver. Casper can go well in the wet. Kieran, Kieran is a bit of a wet weather specialist, Jess. So
he is.
It could be another Kieran night, much like what we had last season at Suzuka.
Yeah, because remember, it started off dry and then it got raining towards the end, I believe, and it just topped and tailed. And we had something similar in qualifying last season as well, in the season finale, which chop and change everything. Luckily, it was a dry race at the time, but it was a similar conditions that you expect to see here, apart from it's going to get drier just a little bit earlier tonight. So let's see who's going to be the first driver to set a lap. I will believe it is Furious. Yeah, let's go on board with a lap of the Ardennes Forest at Spa-Francorchamps. Then you'll be heading towards turn 1 in La Source. Keep as close to the right as you can. Of course, you need to take a different line in the wet conditions. You're heading towards our route. A slight lift in the rain. If you don't lift and go full throttle, you'll send yourself into Narnia. Then we head to the Kemmel Straight, and we're going to see people's straight line speeds Power S's tonight in terms of the dry conditions later on. So we'll see who has nailed the setup to make it good for dry and wet conditions combined. Furious, as you can see, is using quite a bit of the curb as we enter into Normandy. Now heading into Brussels now. The really tight hairpin. Keep as tight to the right as you can, and as you can see, he is taking a very tight line into No Name. Fully committed in the dry, but in the wet, again, a very different line. Heading towards Piron now. Usually I would shift down in the wet around Piron, which is what Furious done, so he can read my mind. Very lovely. And entering Campus now, and he's going to aim as close to the inside curb as he can, but you don't want to clip it too much in the wet conditions. Now heading towards Paul Frere now, and that's where the final proper corner happens. Well, the penultimate final corner as we head towards Blanchimont now. Now, I've experienced this in qualifying earlier. You can go flat out a little bit through Blanchimont, but I know some people will be playing it safe a little bit as he makes his way now in towards the final few corners, as we've got in some lap times already. But let's go on board with Furious as he exits the bus stop chicane, clips the curb. Nicely done from him, taking it a bit conservative. The times are getting faster here in Spa. Furious goes up to the line, and it is a 1:54.7 for the Alpine driver, Mike.
You'll be looking at that lap knowing that there's a few more temps there as well. Of course, just outbreaking himself slightly in a couple of corners. You'll know he can gain a bit of time there. If it does stay intermediate, but I believe the rain has already stopped, Jess.
Yeah, the rain has stopped, yes. So it is to be expected because it was slightly earlier than the other tiers. So there are some people, understandably, that didn't want to brave the wet conditions. They were gambling that, of course, it was going to dry up very quickly. And we've seen some situations in the lower tiers that if you did go out on inters, you did not have time to go out for one final run later on. So that is potentially what other people are doing, as our wet weather specialist, Kieran, slots himself into P1. We've got, I think, about 5 drivers, Mike, who is opted to on the softs already, and there's about half the grid that haven't come out yet. Let's hope they remembered to go on to a set of softs, because otherwise they're going to be in a spot of bother like we saw Mason do earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to make sure that they get out there on the set of the softs, try and get a lap in, build the confidence. If they come out of the garage right now, they should be able to get 2 runs relatively easy. But the longer they leave it, the less track time they're going to get, and that's going to maybe slightly hinder them, because when it comes down to that final lap, 1 lap to get it right, the pressure and the track limits can really turn and bite you in the rear.
If it was a normal wet qualifying, there would be multiple people doing multiple laps. But since it's dry out, a lot of people I would expect to go into the pit lanes. We've got people that have been in the pits for so long on laps at the moment. I don't think Curry was meant to go out on a set of the intermediate tyres. He was meant to go out on the soft. So if I was him to make sure you have a time to set another lap, then make sure you go on just abort the lap, go into the pit, and then do a run on the soft. Otherwise, he's going to gamble with only 1 shot qualifying later on, and you definitely do not want that. So Curry, wrong decision, whereas everybody else, apart from Robot, who's also on Inters, we've got Alex, Absolot, Chris, Palsy, Colin, and Marco on a set of the soft compound tyres. If I were you, if you're not out now, you're not going to get a lap in time for 1 final run. So you got to be out now to do 2 runs in qualifying on the dries.
So then Robert being a little bit naughty there in cutting the corner, which...
Please clip that.
I do not have my OBS running, unfortunately.
Oh, God damn it. Hopefully someone else has spotted that, because I didn't spot that. But yes, Furious got penalised for that, and Curry, and I think someone else for cutting the corner. You're not allowed to do that to gain an advantage. You will get penalised. I can't remember. It is a grid penalty for the next race, which is not what you want. So we'll see what happens again. And speaking of penalties, Mike, we've got quite a lot of drivers, not as much as the other tiers, luckily, which makes it easy for Lukey. But we got multiple drivers tonight that are taking a car part penalty. We've got 5 drivers taking penalties. We've got Colin Lukey, who's taking an engine penalty, and Robite, Jacob, and Casper taking gearbox penalties. So I wonder how that is going to fare as we head into the main race. Because even though it's good to overtake, Mace was pointing out to us earlier on, you don't have many laps to overtake in the wet, and it's very difficult. So people probably regretted that decision to do their engine penalty.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones where it's a great place on paper to take one of the penalties and take a gearbox, take an engine, but when it is wet conditions or even changeable conditions, as it's going to be tonight, it's going to be all about surviving more than anything when it comes to just trying to get through. And these guys on taking the penalties, they might find their first stint on the Inters pretty tricky to get overtakes done.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think all of us found it quite difficult as well. But there was quite a few drivers starting in the back that gained quite a few positions already. So it is still possible to overtake around Belgium. They're probably glad it wasn't at Zandvoort at the end of the day. But I think there was just people just moving out the way for their runs. I think it was one of the Red Bulls or Collie. Yes, it is. 'Cause I do believe one of the Ferraris was on a run. Nope. Collins was on a run, but unfortunately he's invalidated. On a corner where I didn't think he would invalidate. Most people would invalidate through poo on.
Yeah, I'm currently on board with Pelzy right now, who's a little bit further on coming through Blanchimont, but yeah, just looking at where Colin is on track, that's a very strange place to pick up an invalidation right there.
Yep, it is. And Pelzy's going to be one of the first drivers on the soft tyres to set a lap in qualifying, and he should have time to go for another one. It's a 1:44.9. Expect the times to go even quicker during this session. And next across the line will be one of the Haas drivers. It's not Alexa, it is Alex. That is the first thing we've got to take care of this evening. Having two Alexes in the lobby. As we're seeing 142s already, Mike, with a 142.3 for Marco and a 142.4 for Alex. But I would expect in this tier at least for people to get into the 141s. Because what we saw in P3, the pole sitter did a 141.8, I think it was. And I think we were all amazed how quick they was. And here we go. Mike's pick for the win is on a provisional pole position at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Axlock is just one of those drivers, and I kind of liken him a little bit to a Jensen Button style of driver. Very good in mixed conditions. So keep an eye on Axlock for this race, as well as the likes of Kieran as well, to pull out a big performance.
And of course, one thing we did not mention, we've got two big hitters again missing this week. Callum and Armed, Ben Mills, they're not here this week. Ben Mills will be back for the rest of the season as of next week. And I know Callum is missing one race at Singapore. So plenty of chances for the unknowns, maybe Axelot, maybe Coley, who was in contention for the win last week, if he didn't get his 10-second penalty, I think it was, or even a 3-second. So yeah, there are plenty of unknowns that can happen, especially in these conditions. Collie goes fastest. Who else is on a run? I think J. Cole is on a run too. We've got one of the Alpines of Furious who is on a run. So let's go on board with him first. Takes a very tight line into the final corner. Shortest run to the line for Furious. What's it going to be? It is fastest. First man into the 149s. J. Cole. Could he have an answer to that? He was looking very good in the practice session we did earlier. Can he not disappoint here? Of course he cannot disappoint. A 141.6 for J. Cole. That is very impressive, and it's going to take some beating.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic lap from the McLaren of J. Cole there. Absolutely incredible. 3 times clear of Furious right now at the top of the times. One person I was going to highlight and say it's a very good lap from him was Chris, who's currently in P9 at 42.5. So, I mean, that's a good lap from Chris. And he's looking quite competitive here tonight. So we will see how the remainder of this qualifying session will unfold for him. I think he can definitely get himself a little bit further up the order as we look to see who is next across the line. I believe it's going to be Robite next one to cross the line to set a lap. Yeah. As he comes through the bus stop chicane now, a little bit of a back end snap for the Red Bull, but to the line will come Robite up to P3, and now we got Curry coming to the line.
Yep, Curry in the Mercedes, of course. He feels like he could do a lot better than he has done this season already, but can he be the one that knocks J. Cole off his perch? Nope, he goes into 10th position. Kieran is on a run at the moment, but he is invalidated, which is not ideal because he hasn't set a dry run yet, as either is the bottom half of the grid. And especially if you got an engine penalty, it's not going to be good at all. But I don't think Kieran has got one today, so he's probably going to be relieved about that. As Robite has retired from the session on his in-lap, he binned it just after Lecombe.
Yeah, from the looks of it, looks like he may have just got himself onto that inside curb as Curry's taking an alternative line right there.
You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that, Sunshine. They didn't watch the Stewards Rim stream.
They did not, and Curry...
He's already got a penalty for this reason.
Exactly. You figured he would have learned after the first time, but he's risked it again, and he's been caught once again. And this is why make sure you stay within the track limits. Don't cut the corners because we will catch you 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, so it was Curry that cut the corner. Who else cut the corner as well? I'm just trying to remember.
I believe it. We're going to have to go back. I think it was Robite that I saw cut. It was through on the exit of Brussels into No Names,
Oh,
a
yes.
little off-road thing.
Yeah, I think that might have been the case. So I have logged Curry's to the stewards because we saw that, so they know that he has cut that. So he'll be getting a instant grid penalty. As everybody now is on their final runs. Your current order at the moment is J. Cole with a 141.627, Furious in second with a 141.9, Collie in fourth. No, Robite in third, but that's his lap done with a 141.964. Then it is Collie in fourth with a 142.072. Then we got Atslot in fifth. Owen in sixth. He's going to be one of the first people to set a lap. Actually, no, it's his teammate Palsy who's going to set a lap. There's a lot of traffic heading towards Lecom, which is going to be an absolute nightmare. But then we got Marco, Alex, Lukey, and Curry, your top 10. So everybody, especially the ones from, I would say, P13's outwards, they've only got one shot to get it right. And I'm a bit worried for some of these guys. And I'm also worried for ones that don't hardly have any clear air. So they're not going to have much time to get and do a lap.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main thing is, Belzy's lost the back end coming out of the source. And that is his lap over and done with. I was just about to say, obviously, he had the best opportunity of improving on his lap time, having clear air in front of him, but dropping it on the exit of turn one.
That was very unfortunate. I don't think he's got that much damage, but that is his lap done. So he'll be starting no higher than 14th, but a lot of the drivers around him do have engine penalties or gearbox penalties, so he will be starting a little bit higher towards the grid. We'll see what his teammate does as he enters into Rouge coming up as well, but we got multiple people on laps before him, including Colin R. Mason, who I'm surprised he's not set a lap yet because he can also get into the 141s. We'll see what he does then heading in towards Peron. You could definitely take it full commitment in the dry. In the rain and in the race in general, definitely not. We've also got, I believe, Casper on just about to start, well, just started his run. Kieran is on his out lap. So let's watch Colin as he makes his way through into Port Frey. He's going to set the benchmark for the others to follow. He's purple sector 2, Mike.
14.2 in the middle sector there from Colin. It's looking decent so far for the Ferrari. The Welshman, as he heads up towards Blanchimont, he's going to be the first man to cross the line and see the checker flag in the session. And then there'll be the Southworth, I believe, Owen in behind. But Colin through the bus stop chicane. What's it going to be for the Welshman as he comes to the line?
P2 for Colin.
0.9.
That was very good for Colin. We'll see what Owen could do. Of course, he missed the last few races, but he's back with a vengeance this evening. Of course, he needs to get used to racing against these drivers again, but he's been looking good so far in qualifying, so we'll see what he could do here. This looks like a very good lap for Owen. Up to the line, P2 for Owen. Oh, and it's not that far behind Jaco, actually, so I would say bring it on. I think we got one of the Racing Bulls on a run. That is Casper Klein, of course. Both Racing Bulls looking very good this season in terms of the standings and looking to definitely capitalise that, because I don't think Kieran has got any penalties. As Casper now goes P2. The top three are just so close. And then Marco say, what the? 141.2 for Mark and Marco, and then 141.2 for Axelot. These times just keep getting better and better. Jaco, I think, messed up. He's taken the brake marker board, and that's his lap time over.
Yeah, I just jumped on board with that. He got hooked on the inside curve and he just lost the back end. And honestly, I did that earlier myself in qualifying, so I know exactly how that feels. It's furious to the line. No improvement from him. Kieran now also to the line. And what's it going to be for Kieran?
Only 7th. What a close qualifying, especially with the midfield. We got 3 drivers that are in the league of their own in terms of qualifying. I think, honestly, J. Cole would have been up there if he didn't make a mistake. I would have liked to have seen his at sector times. We'll go for your order then. My pick for the win tonight, Marco is on pole by 2/100ths of a second. Really close between the two of them in first and second with Marco and Axel. J. Cole in third, but what could have been if he didn't mess up his lap? Then we got Casper in fourth. Owen with a good return to qualifying in fifth. We got Collie in sixth. Then we got Kieran. Collie had a good qualifying. Furious in ninth. Robot in tenth. Then we got Nick, Alex, Lukey, Curry, Chris, Alexa, and Pelsley. Of course, Pelsley did not set a competitive lap time. Plus, we've got engine penalties and gearbox penalties, so the order will completely change as we head to the main race, but we won't see that until we actually get to that. So let us know who you're supporting in the chat. I know who Lethal Force Man is supporting, and we know who Kelsbrooks is supporting, so keep them coming in. But Mike, any surprises going into from qualifying then? Was there any drivers that surprised you in a good way and in a bad way?
I mean, in a good way, I was very surprised at Axlock's final run at the end there. I think he might have actually managed to get himself a little bit of slipstream from his teammate up ahead. I'm not too sure. I saw the Astons quite close to each other on track. But yeah, it was an incredible final lap from Axlock. And I think as well for Colin as well, as he done a very fantastic lap, and he was one shot to get it done as well, so he can be very proud of that attempt right there.
Yeah, I think he can as well. I think that was pretty much almost his PB, Colin, so I think honestly, he would take that in a heartbeat. And Jaco in the chat straight away is apologising for the code brown. And I think we're seeing in the P1 drivers chat, Mike, that quite a few people have regretted taking their engine penalties, because we've seen quite a few drivers have their best qualifying of the season, and they're going to have to start at the back. That's not good, especially in the wet conditions. But we know how good J. Cole is in the wet, 'cause we've seen that earlier on today. But I think, yeah, J. Cole is starting to regret right there.
Yeah, but that's a gamble you take, though. I mean, obviously going into this, no one knew what the weather conditions were going to be. So on paper, it's a very good track to take an engine or a gearbox penalty at. So I don't knock anyone for taking an engine or gearbox here. Obviously, it's just the luck of the draw that is the conditions have turned out the way they have.
Yeah, and of course we've seen many drivers who start lower down on the grid get a good result and still finish like top 10 or top 5. So it's definitely not over without any stretch of the imagination. So they've just done the dummy race, so now the grid is going to get set up by our lovely Lukey. But let's look at some of our media day stuff, because the drivers have been very busy during media day yesterday. We, of course, got our rivalries of Alexa and Furious, both of them finding themselves at the bottom of the standings, and they were asked, can you see yourself fighting each other on track plenty in order to achieve this, and can it be done respectively? And Alexa said, of course we'll have good battles if we have a chance for a good result. Hopefully it will be clean without any instance. And Furious did not respond to that, but a really respectable response for Alexa. He's hoping for a good battle. And as you can see, of course, even though Alexa's missed one race, Alexa is beating him, Furious 2-0 in the race. And that's where the point is scored, in the race and not in qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's called Alexa, obviously one up in Furious right now, is going to stay that way by the end of tonight's race. Of course, a race like this with the conditions that we have, it can really throw a spanner in the works, and I think they will end up battling at some point, and I think the elbows are going to get out between them.
Yeah, exactly. And I just realised Casper's got engine, not gearbox, so I need to tell Loki at that, because I wrote that wrong. So yeah, Casper's got an engine penalty, not gearbox. Sorry about that. I should have read the tickets a little bit more. So there we go. Those were the rivalries. And the driver's press conference this week was Alex, and of course he won last week, and he showed he had absolute pace, but it was unfortunate with his DQ, and he was asked if he could bounce back from this and where does he feel he could finish this season. And he said, "Thank you for the welcome. I'm excited to add to the entertaining racing you all hold here. I take full responsibility for missing the two-stop rule while skimming through the rule set and intro message. That cost me what I believe was a sure win at Monza," which I totally agree. "I'll sure be fine for podiums going forward." But he has got an injury though, Mike. So him racing, fair play for him still racing tonight due to his concussion. But it shows the show does go on, which is fair play, but I won't expect him to perform at his usual level tonight. But it was good to hear from him. But at least he knows the two stops now.
Yeah, that's the important thing now. Obviously, he's had that little learning experience of Monza now. He knows the rules going forward, and of course, yeah, a massive shout out to him for coming in and racing with a concussion, because I can only imagine, like, just the strain that is going to be going through his head, having to focus on these conditions with a concussion. Like, I can only imagine.
I've been ill pretty much from yesterday evening to today. I had a bit of a headache and a high temperature, and I was trying to race in these conditions, and it was awful, and that made me get the wrong strategy because my brain was like all hazy and all that. So I think his would have been made worse with his concussion. So I respect you. I respect you, Alex, and I'd like to wish him, of course, the best of luck going into this one. We've got the standings up on your screen. We hardly ever go through the standings, but we will go through it now. Axelot is your championship leader, with Kieran in P2. We've got Marco in third, Ben Mills in fourth position. We have got Casper Klein in fifth. We've got J. Cole in sixth, Collie in seventh, Callum Unarmed in eighth. Of course, he's missing tonight. So, and we got Lukey in ninth. Pelzy, you'll round up your top 10. And then we got Nick, Colin, Chris, Alexa, Furious, and Owen. And then, of course, we've got Robite only on 2. And Alex yet to score, as well as Curry and Ricardo. So that is your driver's standings. And your constructor's standings look like this. You can barely see it, so we do apologise. Racing Bulls leading on 87 points. Then we got Aston Martin in second on 65. Williams in third on 65 as well. McLaren in fourth on 56. Mercedes fifth on 48. Stake in sixth on 28. Red Bull seventh on 25. Ferrari eighth on 24. Haas in ninth on 10. And Alpine in last, only on 5 points. So that is your standings for tonight. And yeah, interesting there. I might have showed the wrong standings there, which I do apologise.
I can say one thing, and that is going to be very interesting when we get the likes of Ben Mills and Callum Unarmed back in racing regularly again, because obviously with those two missing last week and of course this week, it has allowed the likes of Axel, Kieran to get ahead, and Marco actually for that matter, to get ahead of the both of them. And they have a great opportunity to pull even further away as well, with Axel right now being, what, 13 points at the moment ahead of Ben Mills.
Which is insane.
Going even more.
Yeah,
it's a race win.
Yeah, and Ben Mills, I don't think he's going to miss any more races this season. So we are going to hope that he could, of course, bounce up and move forward after this one, because he can still win the championship, even though he's only missed 2 races. So it's not over yet for the likes of Ben Mills, of course. And I didn't predict Axelot for the win this week, because I jinxed him last week when I predicted him, and he got a 10-second penalty. And it's one of those tracks where getting 10-second penalties is probably less common, but people still get it, like we've seen in plenty of the tiers tonight.
I think around here, 10-second time penalties for speeding in the pit lane is usually quite uncommon. Just because of the nature of the pit lane entry, you got to slow down quite a bit just to navigate your way into the pits. But the one thing that the drivers are going to have to keep an eye on is pull-on, because it is so easy just to drift over the track limits midway through that corner. And honestly, it's going to be treacherous in the wet, and then when you're in the dry, if you hit that curb wrong on the entry, the outside curb, it can really unsettle your car and force you off through P1. So a driver's gonna have to stay very alert going through there.
Yeah, I think P1 has caught quite a few drivers off guard tonight, including myself. And I think at least in the drive we could see quite a few track limit penalties from all of our drivers. We did see on the P3 chat, which we were having a little bit of fun with earlier on, Mike, where quite a lot of people liked P1, which I didn't understand because as a personal preference, I don't like P1. So it's just I was just probably like the odd one out on that one. So there we go. As the tier coordinator has told all the drivers to ready up in the lobby, so we should be getting underway very, very shortly for the 5th round of One Hub Racing P1 tier. And quite a few drivers were asked about perfecting the setups. Corley said he would only practice for like 30 minutes, as quite a few other drivers would practice for a little bit longer, especially Atslot, who said he needs to do his best to capitalise on others missing races. Kieran knows what he's doing, so he's feeling a bit confident that he doesn't have to practice that much, and he's feeling good about that. But of course he was presuming it doesn't rain, and of course it was gonna rain. So that was a few drivers for us heading into the main race this evening. And of course we've got drivers taking penalties. I will remind you who is taking penalties this evening. We got Casper taking an engine penalty. We have got, let me just have a look on what other penalties that we have. I'm just trying to have a look. We got Lukey taking an engine penalty, as well as Colin, Road Bike Gearbox, Jaco Gearbox. So Jaco especially and Casper is going to drop way down the order. But the talk is over. Mike, get your predictions in. Who do you think is going to win this race?
I think it's going to be... I think Axlock's got in to take the race win here, and I think joining him on the podium will be Kieran and Marco.
I'm predicting the same podium but a different order. So I think Marco is going to win, Kieran top 2. So that is my top 2 going into this one. So let us know your thoughts. Wade in the chat saying he thinks Kieran is going to be winning tonight, and we would like to hear your opinions. Of course, quite a few drivers will be starting lower down, so we'll go for your order quickly because it has sorted the grid. So we've got Marco on pole, Atsot will be completing the front row. Then we've got Owen in 3rd, Coley 4th, Kieran 5th, Nick 6th, J. Cole, despite his penalty, is starting in 7th, so that's not bad for him. Then we got Chris in 8th, Furious 9th, Alexa 10th. Then we got Roby, Alex, Curry, Casper, Halsey, Colin, and Lukey will be starting in last. So that is your grid order then for the race this evening. And of course Marco and Atsalot we're going to be keeping our close eye on, but watch out for Jacob because he's only starting like 7th, I believe.
Yeah, J. Cole, he's not down as far as he would have thought with the penalty, but he's got a great opportunity as long as he can just survive the dry period and that. Then we get to the wet period. Then we get to the dries. Then J. Cole will be able to try and climb his way up the order and maybe take advantage of anyone that makes mistakes in front of him. But the drivers making sure they got their setups, making sure they get their strategies right, their fuel loads.
That's a hint for any P1 drivers watching, listening to the stream. Get your setups on. Carry on, sorry.
Yep. What's called? It's just going to be very interesting. Of course, the fuel burn around here doesn't appear to be too much. So I imagine a lot of drivers are running maybe around 0.5 over.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go around it. I put 1 lap over and I initially regretted it. So yeah, half a lap over should be fine. But we know with people that are running auto gears around here, I think we could see people probably running a little bit more than that. But if you're manual gears, I think half a lap of fuel should definitely be enough if you're racing in these conditions. So we can see obviously everyone's going to be starting on the inters. The question is, when will it be dry conditions? Of course, in the different tiers it was different. I think I remember the P3 tier, it dried up so quickly and it wasn't long before people went on to the hards, whereas in P2 it just took a little bit longer, and I think pretty much almost all of us pitted at the wrong time, and we I think I pitted a lap or two later, I think, than expected, but I still had an undercut on people. Shame my final stop wouldn't be good. But Mike, over to you as you're doing the start this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the 5 red lights to get underway. The lights are out and we are underway here in Belgium, and it's a very good start there for Marco, holding off the attack from Axlock, who's going to try to hang it around the outside. It's 2x2 like Noah's Ark, but 3 wide in behind with Collie, Kieran, and I believe Nick was in the mix there, as well as we come up now through Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time in the race, slipping and sliding as we come onto the Camel Straight now, as the order continues with Marco in the lead, with Axlock directly behind him, trying to hunt him down.
And bearing in mind, there'll be quite a few drivers. I'll be running a mixture of setups. We've got some drivers that are running the dries setup completely, and there'll be some that are running wet setups. And they got to think, how would they make the wet setup suitable for the dry conditions a little bit later on? So J. Cole's already made up one place. As you can see, one of the Hasses. Oh, they make a bit of contact. Alexa and Furious. Yeah, I think he might be slightly furious right now as he heads towards No Name.
Yeah, Alexa and Furious, obviously they were in the rivalries, and I think the rivalry is going to continue now.
Yeah, we can see Colin, by the way, made a lovely move just before Puron, so he's probably got a setup which is definitely suited for the wets compared to Alex. Alex seems to be struggling right now on those sets of the intermediates, but look at the gap that Marco's pulling away against the rest of the field. He likes these wet conditions. Don't forget, he was a driver that won in Silverstone when it was last wet, and he did a very good race. We were worried that he was going to puncture towards the end like his rivals did, but luckily he didn't. So I'm not surprised to see him up there near the top, but chasing down Axelot is people that you would expect. Collie and, of course, Owen right at the back of this. So we'll see what Axelot could do. Okay. He's going to defend to the inside. Here comes Owen in towards the bus stop chicane, and they got to leave as much room as they can, which they do, and Owen makes his way up into P2. Nice, respectful between the two. Is Axelot going to break late into the source? Nope, he's not. But I think now they lost so much time battling, but the gap's just going to keep increasing and increasing. I think they're going to switch positions like no tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously for right now, it's all about trying to bring that gap down to Marco up ahead, and see what they can do. Owen's now the lead of this train, so we'll see if he's got the pace to close in on Marco. Marco, though, fantastic start from him, getting up the orders. We got Nick and Chris battling out for P7 here. And we got Alexa in the mix as well, looking to the inside into the comms on Nick.
Will we brave?
Oh, Nick's done well there. He's done well to get the room and hold on to the position.
Of course, he was defending like crazy, Nick. Great job for him. I think both drivers made mistakes there, and that allowed for nobody to go for the move, unfortunately. But sometimes you've got to play it safe around it, and I'm loving this midfield battle. Luckily, no one has pitted for a change of front wing, which means that everyone, majority of them, have kept it clean, or if there's any instance, then it was just probably a spin or a tap, which is, I think, a huge relief right now. Owen is starting to increase the gap to Axelot and go more than 1 second, which means this is Collie's opportunity to repeat what he did last week, try and get ahead of Axelot. Of course, Axelot finished ahead of him because Collie got a penalty last week. This is a chance to redeem himself. He makes his way towards Paul Frere now. Collie looks like he is quicker on a straight line. He's going to struggle in the corners, but he seems to be closing in on the Axelot. Is he burning battery? Nope, he is not. He's definitely got low straight line speed compared to the Aston Martin. He's going to try and go for the move into the bus stop. Nope, he does not go for the move. He played it safe. Axelot's lost it.
Yeah, he scared Axelot. Axelot went a little bit deep to give Collie the move, and that's just allowed Collie just to take the position. Thank you very much. And now Kieran side by side.
Collie trying to... no, it's Kieran, sorry. I'm getting confused. There's Racing Bulls and Red Bulls and whatever. So Kieran's up to 4th. I think Axelot's struggling now in these conditions. Maybe they're overheating just a little bit too much. We'll see who's gained the most positions, actually, on your screen. Here comes J. Cole. He's going to gain at least 1 position. So he's gained 1 so far. Is he going to gain another? Throw it in towards Lecom. Yes, he does. J. Cole up into 5th place, and he's looking very quick on the back of Kieran. The biggest gainer, by the way, is Luke. He started last, and he's up into 13th place. He likes the wet conditions, and he's going to try and climb as much positions as he can then as well. It seems to me, Mike, the main battles are happening from 4th downwards.
Yeah, and I have a bit of a theory of Axellock struggling right now. Just a little bit of a theory. I think he's running a dry setup in the hopes that he can gain these places back in the dries.
That could be a good move. So I was saying about setups earlier, Mike, where there will be some people running dry setups because they haven't had time to get a wet setup, or there might be people running wet setups but not change it for the dry. So you got to find the balance. You've got to find a setup that's good for the dry and the wet, or potentially have the right capacity to change the wings to make it suitable for the dries later on, and change the diff and all that stuff. You can only change the diff in the brake bias, by the way. As Chris gets past Axel, I'm almost certain Axel, I hope he hasn't got damage in that Aston Martin, because you can see Nick is closing in as well. And don't forget, like, Axel was looking very good in practice. I don't know why he's struggling. I'm starting to think he might have forgotten his setup. He looks like a boat on the straight, as Marcus did the fastest lap of the race so far.
I mean, I was on board with Axel there coming through pole 3 as he just took a little bit too much speed, just understeered off into the gravel, and you see him through the corners. He's really struggling with understeer at the moment, so maybe an indicator that he's running very low wings, maybe too low wings for the intermediate conditions here.
Yeah. I know I had to up my wings a lot in order to make sure it was for the wet conditions, but not too much, though, because otherwise I would have definitely been a boat. Meanwhile, Kieran was looking to try and get past Collie, but to no avail. But there's only a few drops of rain currently, as we're seeing Lukey and Casper go for it, still going side by side to pull for air. Lukey's going to commit to Malmedy, which he does. So Lukey having a great battle with Casper and Colin, as Colin was almost going to go for it there. Roadbite in there as well. Some great fighting towards the back. Don't forget, One Hub Racing has top 12 score points in this league. So it is all to play for here, as to try and score as many points as they can. And I wonder, when is the time where it's going to stop raining and will be enough for slicks? I don't think it is yet, even though you can hardly see any raindrops currently. It's still quite slippy, but anything could happen. And don't forget, the likes of Casper, Lukey, Furious, Alex, Alexa, Nick, they're on that train for 7th place, so they could still get some crucial points out of this if anyone in front of them make a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the rain, I believe the rain is it's just slightly falling at the moment, but we're getting close to it stopping. But that doesn't mean it's the switch over to the dries. I mean, we saw in P2 earlier, it took forever to go to the dry tyres once the rain stopped. So we could be in a similar situation here in P1.
Stop raining.
Yeah, it stopped raining now, and we're going to see just how long it takes for this track to dry up.
Here we go then. So who will gamble for a set of the slicks early on? Or will they rely on their engineer and stay out a little bit longer? We'll have to wait and see. I think we could see quite a few gambles here tonight. As you can see, Kieran going to go for the move on the collie. You can tell he's got better straight line speed. I'm almost certain Kieran is running a setup that's got low wings. So Kieran past collie up into P3 at the moment. He's on the podium position. The next step is trying to see if he can catch up to the kick Sauber of Owen in front, which is going to be a tall order, but we know how Kieran is good in the wet, so he's got to nail that within the next few laps before it gets dry, really. Alex, by the way, is right behind his teammate. He was almost going to try and get into Brussels, but he couldn't quite do it. The Hasses are having a really good time, I have to say. Well, let's just go off as I said that.
That's Colin joining Alexa as well.
I think luckily Colin ghosted, because otherwise it could have been an absolute disaster for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, I think the both of them done the exact same thing. They got hooked onto the sausage curb in towards No Name, and that has just speared them straight on. And that's another thing as well that the drivers going to have to keep out for. Very easy to get caught on the curbs around here as well.
Yeah, as I found out during the race earlier on, because I almost had a moment in qualifying. So it is just so easy to do. So these drivers have got to watch out, of course. So I think I would expect the drivers near the back that maybe have not practiced very much to come in and just take a gamble. As the fastest lap so far, we got a pitter. We got a pitter then. Owen has come into the pits. He's gambling for a set of the hard compound of tyres. Like we saw in P2, I think it could be early, but you can see a dry line forming in a lot of the track. But you can see with Kieran, we're riding on board now, it's still quite slippery in places. So for Owen, it might be a lap too late for the kick-sabber, but you never know. We saw in P3 where it was dry instantly, so it could be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely could be. And of course, Owen now on the set of the medium compound tyres, he's going to hope that they switch on pretty quickly. And we're going to find out very quick whether or not they can switch on or not. It looks like lost a few tenths.
He lost quite a bit of time. Yeah, it's too early. It is far too early for Owen. As Alex saying a beautiful move just after Lecom on Nick there. He's already up into 7th place, so he is loving life right now on those intermediate times. You can see he's just... Yeah. It's too slippy, and there's still like damp patches. You could probably tell there is definitely some damp patches. So yeah, Owen is definitely losing quite a bit of time. He's already lost to like a second. So yeah, he's definitely regretting this, which is a shame because he was on course for a very good result. But sometimes you have to gamble for the strategy, and that gamble did not work.
No, unfortunately for Owen, he's gone a little bit too early there, and he's well down the order now, and he's just going to be hemorrhaging time. Obviously, he was in that battle. Well, he was in a bit of a no man's land, actually.
Yeah,
just
he was
ahead of Kieran,
in his own in 2nd place.
Yeah, and I think now he's going to drop back into this kind of battle with the likes of Chris, Axelock, and Alex, maybe even Nick as well.
And speaking of Nick, he's under pressure from Furious in the background as he makes his way towards the bus stop chicane. Very late on the brakes. You're going to go around the outside. A stupid camera angle, by the way, game. But Furious gets past Nick up into 8th place. No one has opted to box yet, which is understandable. There is, of course, a dry line in sector 1, but sector 2 is where they lose the grip. Curry is deciding to pit now, which, again, I don't think is a good idea. He's going to lose quite a bit of time, and he's going to be in danger of maybe being out of the points, but you never know. We've got some battles happening at the front, though. Collie in at the red ball is chasing down Kieran for 2nd place in this race. We'll see what he could do. Flicks the car to the right-hand side in towards Lecom. He's got great cornering speed, but would he enable that in the race? Nick does get past Furious again, but they still go side by side in towards the exit of Lecom. And we got Lukey not that far behind. Also, Furious... Oh! Well, that was a bit frustrating there. I do not know what's happened, and yeah, that was a bit unfortunate there.
I just jumped onto it quite late. I just saw Nick in the grass now doing a little bit of lawn mowing. So unfortunately, I didn't quite see what happened there. But he's lost the back end. Yeah. Did he pick up any rear wing damage, perhaps?
It's honestly hard to tell. Meanwhile, Fury is trying to go up the inside of Casper. Oh, that was a switch and a half. These conditions are in the realms of not being good for any tyre. Because don't forget, your mediums are going to be your mediums or your inters are going to be just so warm at this stage. Especially the inters, most of them have been on for the start of the race.
Yeah, and I just went on board with Owen just to see how he was getting on, and he's lost the back end coming through Pooh on absolutely four-wheel drifting as if he's in a rally car more than a Formula 1 car, but yet the leaders are in.
Pit stops, Marco's in, Kieran's in, Collie's in. Could this be the right time for people to go in? Jake and Chris stay out. They're going to come comfortably ahead of the ones we've already pitted already, so Marco's going to have no problem with that. And I'm a bit shocked, actually. I thought more people, like we saw in P3 and P2, would have opted for the hard compounded tyres, but we got Marco, Kieran and Collie on the mediums. So is Axelot, and we know in P2 the rain hardly wasn't enough for Inters at all. So it is interesting to say the least on people taking that gamble. But if I was a driver racing in P1, I would have definitely opted for a set of those hards as Furious trying to go around the outside. A bit of a love tap once again. Robite's going to take advantage, and Robite saying thank you very much. I am through in at 2P4, and Marco just showing that I think at this stage, I think it's on the cusp, but you can see how Marco was able to gain a place. I think it's just about the right time for Dries as Robite trying to go around the outside into Piron past Lukey, which is going to be a tall order, but he decided to back out for now. But Marco trying to do the same. Marco can't afford to be held up behind these Inter runners because he's going to lose up so much more time as Marco's gone off.
Yeah, he just went offline onto the damp part of the track, and that unfortunately has meant Marco's now back behind Furious. But yeah, this is not what Marco needs here, because he's just getting absolutely held up hand over fist. And I think Kieran's taken around about a second out of him in this lap while Marco's been held up. Yeah,
he's being held up. And we saw that, I think, with Callum and what was it? Someone else in the race in Silverstone, where someone was held up on a different tyre. So I think we're seeing exactly the same here as J. Cole comes in to the pit lane, which is definitely the right time. I think it's definitely dry conditions. You can already tell in the first part of the source that it's definitely dry now. So Marco is your net race leader at the moment, but I think it's a shame for Chris being not pitting yet, because he's going to lose so much more time to everybody else. As you can see, Corley has got ahead of J. Cole coming out of the pit lane. Furious and Lukey come onto the pits. Furious on a set of the hards, and Nick on a set of hards as well, and Lukey on a set of the mediums.
Very confusing why Chris and Robite stayed out on the Inters. Very, very confused. The only thing I think of for Robite is maybe to help out Collie, his teammate.
Yeah, I think so, potentially. I think this could be an interesting strategy then, because there might be people that are lower down in the championship anyway and want to help their teammates, but I think it's a bit too early in the season to really do that. So I think it is going to be a tall order for what Robite to get a good result here today, because look at the time that Kieran's gaining on Robite right now. He's got to try and get past ASAP. And are they gambling, do you think, Mike, that it's going to be Inters very soon? Because in both races, it took a while for the Inters to show up.
Yeah, obviously, it was the latter stages of both races where the rain started to fall. Of course, in P2, it didn't go to the intermediate conditions all the way at the end. I think that actually the last lap might have been intermediate conditions, but
yeah,
it was just
lap
the
was
last
definitely
lap.
Inters.
Yeah, so we might have a similar situation here. If that's the case, then obviously Chris and Robite may be looking good. But what
is Robite doing? No, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to be committed, and he wasn't committed. So I wonder the stewards will investigate that. I don't know. I don't know what the rules with that, unfortunately, but I don't think you're allowed to do that. And so he's going to go on to the medium compounded tyres then. So that is everyone that's pitted for set of the dries. What has he done?
I've just gone on board with Collie, and I think from all that confusion in the pit lane entry, Collie's got himself wing damage.
Yeah, but he has got wing damage, because look at Jaco. He's right on the back of him, and it's going to be an easy pass for the McLaren driver who wants to really score some points for the McLaren team with Callum not here, and he's got the move done easily. So, yeah. So, basically, his teammate, who was meant to be helping Collie, screwed him over.
Yeah, there's going to be some strong words in the Red Bull garage after this race, I can tell you that for sure. And right now, I just don't know how Collie's going to be able to hold on to P4 right now. He's going to drop further and further behind the likes of J. Cole and Kieran. Axlock is going to be closing in on him, especially for this middle sector. Yes, he's on the hard compound tyres, but he's got a full front wing. He's just going to close in naturally, and then once the mediums drop away, it could be a bad day for Collie.
Yeah, I think so as well. But he's not losing that much time to Jayco in front. We'll see how much battery Collie has got. He is using quite a bit of battery just to stay ahead. Yellow flag. That is Pelzy that's had an off in Puon. That's not going to be the first one we see tonight.
No, absolutely not. Puon, as I mentioned earlier, if you get the approach wrong in the Puon, then like you can really unsettle the car on the turn in, and that can really throw you off. So it's one of those corners where you have to get the approach absolutely spot on.
Yeah, which he didn't, unfortunately. But it's still a long way to go this race. We haven't seen a safety car. We haven't seen a safety car in any of the tiers this evening, which is quite surprising. And fair play to almost everyone, just keeping it relatively stable, relatively clean, and I wonder how that's going to fare for the rest of the race. We're pretty much almost halfway distance right now, so we will go through your race order in just a moment. But we will see who's going to have the advantage in this dry stint now. Will we see people struggle because they're running a boat in a straight line? We'll have to wait and see. Nick, though, does get past Owen on a set of the hard tyres up into 9th place.
Yes, Lukey gets through on Furious as well. Up into P11 goes Lukey, and Robite is on the back as well on his fresh medium tyres. And we got a nice little, well, I'm going to say a nice little 5-way scrap for the tail end of the points, because Nick and Owen are not too far ahead.
Yeah, that is going to be exciting. I remember the start of the race for us in P2, I think there was like 8 or 9 cars in one DRS train fighting for points, so which was honestly was really, really fun, not going to lie, but it was hard to overtake, and I think we're going to get something similar. We haven't even seen, have you seen DRS enabled yet, Mike? Because I didn't.
Yeah, DRS has been enabled.
I probably wasn't paying attention, but blame me. I haven't been well today, as Pelzy's had another moment just past Normandy, so Malmedy, sorry, not Normandy. But blame me. I haven't been really well today, and I'm still committed to race earlier and obviously commentate, but I'm definitely going to be resting after today. So we are approaching half-race distance. Marco is leading in P1, Kieran in P2. Jacob is going to be very feisty on the back of Kieran, because we can see that him being on the fresher rubber is definitely going to help here as they help through a route. You can definitely take this flat out now. Ignore what the racing line tells you. Oh, Furious is out of the race, yes. A virtual safety car.
Is that going to turn into a full course, perhaps? I don't think so. No safety car being deployed, but that's just
that was a shame. We saw
Kieran somewhat.
Yeah, we saw Kieran and Jacob were going for a move, and they had to stop, which was a bit unfortunate.
How has Furious lost a day? That's on the start finish straight.
Hopefully he didn't rage quit, because if he rage quit, that's a bit naff.
I don't think rage quit, but I'm guessing
green flag.
maybe contact as we go back to green flag conditions. No one picking up a drive-through penalty, fortunately, as we are back racing once again, and J. Cole can return his attack on Kieran, and Lukey, Owen, and Robite can engage in battle for P10 here.
Yes, P10 on the road for Nick and Owen, and P3 on the road for J. Cole and Kieran. They're going to try and fight this battle once again. Look who's closing up. Collie in the Red Bull on those set of the medium tyres, so watch out for him currently. By the way, Mike, this was the only VSC we've seen all night. We haven't had any VSCs in P3 or P2. This is the first lot of, like, time in tonight where the race has been neutralized just a little bit, so but it doesn't seem to change that much. It's pretty much the status quo. By the way, Lukey's looking really good on the back of Owen. This could be like 3 wide here, but I wouldn't advise it if I were you. Lukey is gonna stay put for now as Owen covers to the inside. Owen's in. Has Owen got damage, I wonder?
Is he got damage, or maybe he's thinking that it's not going to get wet enough for the end of the race?
Ooh. Obviously, it's hard to tell. As J. Cole on the back.
Go ahead, Kieran.
Front wing damage for Owen. That's why he pitted. Front wing damage. So he must have
I'll
got
tell you
it in
what,
that
Jess.
battle. Yeah, what?
I tell you what, this is a very good thing for. Well, I say it's a good thing. It's a useful thing for Owen right now. She's putting a set of the soft tires. If he can get that fastest lap point,
He'll get a
that'll
point.
be big things. You'll get something out of this race, even with the damage.
Yeah, and we don't know when it's going to rain. The only people that know are the drivers, and even the drivers will be clueless as us as well, because we know with every wet affected section we were very confused. So it may not be over for Owen, but yeah, he must have picked it up somewhere, which we didn't see. So I think, of course, this. The drivers, of course, send their POVs over, and we can have a look at them towards the next few days. But for now, we have no idea. Kieran's dropped quite a bit back from J. Cole. So J. Cole looking good. Don't forget, J. Cole's had a penalty, a car wear penalty, and he is still up in second. I did say that his pace was going to be amazing. Obviously, not as close to Marco, but best of the rest right now is definitely belonging to J. Cole, and Kieran is just not having a sniff currently.
I mean, J. Cole has just set the fastest lap of the race as well. So
Wow.
J. Cole is really flying. So maybe J. Cole can bring that gap down to Marco. At this point as well, I think the hard tires are going to start to come into play for Axel Lock on Collie and the guys up ahead.
Same with Nick as well, because Nick's on those hard tyres, Collie's on those hard, and we do know the mediums don't last long at all in this race. So I think the ones on the mediums, they're going to hope the rain comes around about now, because we're going to see the tipping point currently at the moment as Alex makes a beautiful move past Chris up into P6.
I'll tell you what, this has been a fantastic race for Chris so far. He's running well inside the top 7. I just want to highlight that. Chris is driving very well.
Yep, he is. He has been making some really great moves, and he's not that far off his teammate either. So I wonder if we could see the teammates getting close to each other. We don't know, but his pace on Alex right now is very, very impressive, as we're seeing Loki getting past Casper. And
I think Casper's having issues.
yeah, Casper looks like he's got connection issues. Oh no.
Hopefully it sorts back out for Casper ASAP, but yeah, it definitely looks like some connection issues for him. Hopefully no damage has been caused either himself or any of the cars around him. So we hope that his internet does sort itself out and gets back to normal. But it seems to be a little bit of connection issues for Casper. And now, Jess, I mean, I mentioned the hard starting to come to life. Axlock's on the back of Collie.
There we go. And he found time very quickly, Axelot, as well. And I was in the hards in the race we just did in P2, and they felt actually pretty decent in these conditions. I was able to get those hards for a long period of time, but that's because the conditions were cooler. And I think Axelot is going to have an easier run on Collie, because those hards are just going to be so much more grippier at this stage of the race, which he gets the job done. Fastest first sector, and look at the way he's attacking those curves. Owen White's at the fast lap of the race, but out of the drivers around him, Axelot is the fastest guy out of the, I would say, the top 5 or even top 6 right now. So Axelot doing a great job. We'll see if the gap does come down, because don't forget, those mediums are going to try and stretch out for a long period of time. I don't see any dark clouds, that many dark clouds forming. I think we could see exactly the same to what we saw in P2.
It's very possible, and I think that's what the likes of Marco, J. Cole, and Kieran are going to be hoping for. That the rain does come very, very late, to the point where it warrants going on to another set of dry tyres and not going on to inters. For Axlock, though, I think he's hoping and praying that the rain will come maybe in like the next 3-4 laps, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think, I'm trying to remember when it came in P3. It came quite early, I think around about, it was lap 16, wasn't it, that it came, like it started raining. So
I think it was 18 actually.
It was 18. It was 18, lap 18 that people just decided to pit. It was 16 when it started. End of lap 16 where it started raining. Thank you, Mike. I am glad Mike's in the booth with me, because yeah, there's sometimes where I can't even think straight right now. So Axelot I think he's got to try and pull away now. He's already gained a 10th on Kieran on this sector alone. He is loving life on those halves. We'll see. It's easy to try and close in a little bit later on. Don't forget, this is a fight for the podium. And Collie, fair play to him. He's keeping up.
Yeah, Collie doing well with that damage, of course, keeping up with Axlock. The one thing that I'm quite interested in seeing is what's going to happen if it does go back to the Indes, because of course Axlock in the Indes was really struggling, so he's definitely going to be...
It's raining!
Oh, and here we go.
That was around about a bit earlier than P3 earlier on. Wow.
Well, how quickly does it go to the intermediates now? That's the question.
I think it will take a few laps, because I know in P2 it took a few laps, didn't it? Even though it wasn't enough for Inters, because we had 1 lap to go, and the only time it was good enough for Inters was when no one was on it. So, yeah, I think it's going to take a few laps for it to be wet enough for Inters. And don't forget, you need to do 2 stops around it. Would you gamble and make sure that you're on it, you're 6 to the end and it stays dry like this? Or are you waiting for the track to get wetter and wetter for you to go on to the intermediate side? It's too late to pit now, but these guys have got to set the laps of their life if they want to get some extra points. In particular, if you're outside the top 10. Casper, I think, being one of those drivers trying to get fastest lap outside the top 10 to at least salvage something in this race.
Right now, the fastest lap is currently being held by Owen, who's currently in P12, so he's picking up 2 points at the moment. So Owen right now 2 points after the wing damage and making the pit stop. I think Collie's gonna have a front wing repair as well, because
he's struggling.
If it does go to Indes, he's definitely not going to be feeling Indes with a damaged front wing.
Yeah, I think a damaged front wing, having a set of Inters around here, it's not good. And never mind, the fastest lap now belongs to Casper with a 1:45.4. I think that's going to be the only lap we see today, I think. So we'll look at the stops, by the way, because only 4 people have made their stops, but we know people will have to pit again for a set of the Inters. So, yeah, only 4 drivers have made their 2 stops. We'll see how damp it is. It's still not damp for Inters at the moment. It's damp in some places, but not damp in others. So we'll see who's going to take that gamble.
Yeah, and do you know what? I'm wondering what can Owen do late in this race, because if it doesn't go to Inters, he's already made his 2 stops. How high up could Owen climb by stretching those softs out?
Oh, that's going to be tough, I think. Oh, yellow flag. That is... Was that?
Owen.
That was Owen that lost it when he was trying to attack Casper. He's lost a bit of his front wing again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's lost his right front wing. It's completely red.
And Alex is the first one to dive into the pits and chuck on the second one after Alexa, but Alex inside the top 10, jumping into the pits. This will be for a set of intermediates, no doubt. Is it too early, though?
Honestly, I don't even know, Mike, at this point. I think the only people we'll know is people that are smart, and we're not probably smart in terms of strategy, because the engineers are probably clueless. Yeah, the engineers are probably clueless anyway. But look at Axelot. He's already gained time on Kieran already. Those mediums are crying for mercy, whereas those halves are loving right now. Axelot is going to try and go for a move round the outside in towards Brussels, and he's going to take a tighter line in towards No Name very soon. And that was a very nice move from Axelot.
Yeah, that was needed for Axelot there to get the move done. He was getting slightly held up by Kieran, being stuck behind him. But Kieran's runs out of the source and up through a Rouge and Radion was just so good that it just took a while for Axelot to get in a position where he could get that overtake done. Now he's got a bit of clear air. Maybe he can try to close that gap down to J. Cole, but I think everyone's going to be in the pits in the next lap or 2.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to come in, I'm almost certain. But we've got to see if the gap's coming down between Alex and Robite. I think that's what we got to keep an eye on here. If it does quite rapidly, then we know it's going to be into the territory soon.
It's coming down
it's
a little
Inters. It's definitely Inters. Look at how much he's pulled on Robite already. 2.7, 2.6. Everyone's got to come in. Alex has pulled a blind over strategy. Could he be the net race leader?
This is huge. J. Cole and Axelock into the pits. Marco stayed out. J. Cole's got a shot to win by here now.
There he goes. And J. Cole's gone to accept the Inters. Let's hope people remember to go on those Inters, but let's stay on board with Alex. He's got to have the fastest outlap of his life. Of course, he missed out on the win last week due to him forgetting the two-stop, but can he? He's already climbed up quite a few positions already. We'll see what he does heading in towards the source. He's not gonna... He's gained, I think, 3 places already. He's gained 3 places. Well. He's going to get them on Kieran. He's got the overspeaks. Don't forget, it's going to be so difficult for those tyres to warm up. If you're not on Inters, you're going to struggle. Marco's bottled this race victory right here. Alex, though, could be on course for a podium here as we make our way into the Camel Straight. Alex, with the grip, with the warmer tyres, up into 4th place. Could he close up to Axelot to get that elusive podium?
And also, DRS was still activated there, so Alex able to use that to get through on Kieran. And now, what has Marco done? He stayed out 1 lap too long, I think, and that gap to J. Cole and Marco is coming down rapidly now, Jess.
It is. Honestly, I think sometimes you take the gamble and you think, oh, it's going to be the same as P2. Oh, it's going to be the same as P3. But don't forget, the weather is set to approximate. So you're not going to rely on the lobby before you about what the weather's going to be. You just got to go with your gut feeling out on track. Have past ideas out of the window and just concentrate on this race. And I think... you can see the way that Marco's calling into the bus stop. He's got to pit now. The writing's on the wall, unfortunately. He's going to drop way down the order as we're going to watch J. Cole. J. Cole's already through Blanchimont. So that is how much time Marco has lost to the likes of J. Cole and Axelot.
Absolutely, and J. Cole will take the race lead. But the question is, where will Marco come out now relative to the rest of the field? Does he still have a podium position in his hands, or does he have a big fight on his hand? As Marco, is he going to be coming out just ahead of Axelot? Oh, it's going to be so close on the exit.
He just about gets ahead of Axelot. Just about. And he's still on course for the fight for the win, but we know how J. Cole is good in clear air. We saw that in practice earlier. He is rapid. So watch out, mate. And he's already pulled up a 10th already. This is looking very good for J. Cole. And don't forget, he took his engine penalty today, or gearbox. I can't remember which one it was, but he took one of them, and he's nailing it.
Yeah, I think it was the gearbox penalty that he did take, but let's not forget, Marco in the first stint was incredibly rapid on those intermediates, and that gap has come back down marginally, and it is still closing in somewhat. So we definitely got a fight on our hands by here, and it's all going to come down to who's going to be making the least amount of mistakes here.
And who's going to pick up the less penalties? Because we know in Belgium it is very easy to get penalties, especially through this section of the track, Piron. So I think the battle for the lead is going to be a lot closer than we thought, as it could be a 3-way or even a 4-way fight, or even a 5-way fight for the lead. Fast on your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to be in for something very crazy indeed. As, by the way, I can tell you who's got the fastest lap in each section. So the fastest lap inside the top 10 belongs to Alex in P4. And the fastest lap outside the top 10 is Casper. So they'll be getting additional points. At the moment, it can't be changed because it's not meant to get any better. So those are your fastest lap points. They belong to Alex and Casper.
Yeah, absolutely. And they managed to set those times right when they needed to. Alex with a shot at the podium. All he's got to do is get past Axelot here, but Kieran's there ready and waiting to pounce on any mistake up ahead. So the battle for the podium really heating up. Marco's brought that gap down, but he's not closing it down quick enough, Jess.
I don't think Marco's going to do it, but you never know. J. Cole could make a mistake out there. He may not have the setup which is suitable for the wet conditions. But you can see Alex, who's got a great straight line speed, Axel making sure that Alex doesn't get any slipstream at all. Kieran trying to tuck into the slipstream of Alex, but is not doing so. I've witnessed it, and you witnessed it in P2. The dirty air in the wet is absolutely horrible.
I don't think I witnessed it. I was too slow in the wet and I had to have dirty air. But obviously these guys are slipping and sliding with the dirty air, understeering out of the corners and lifting off to make sure they don't go off track, because they know one penalty can throw away their race. Absolutely here. And Marco's actually got it down to 1.2. It could be on, Jess. Marco could catch J. Cole.
1.1 now. Bring it on, bring it on. I mean, we have no Ben Mills or Callum, but we got the next best thing, J. Cole and Marco. The ones who I think we thought were going to do well this race. Axel being one of them, but he's a little bit too further back to do so. So we'll see who's made of the right stuff, who's going to get those extra points. J. Cole has not won the race. The best he has finished is second. Marco's won a race. Here comes Alex on past Axelot, but Axelot covers to the right-hand side. Very tight entry, and Axelot takes... now, Alex takes a really great run in towards the final corner. Could this be free wide into that source? Is going to be very brave if they could do so. Axelot's going to be very late on the brakes, actually, as there's no contact. They're just about leaving each other's space, which is really great to see. The gap now between Jaco and Marco, 1 second. Can Marco find the grip that he needs to take this race victory? We'll find out in about a minute's time. Mike, over to you to cover this last race.
Well, here goes Axel getting back through on Alex, and Kieran's going to follow through as well. Alex was P3 at the start of the Kemmel Straight, and he's just about holding on to P4 now as they're side-by-side, Kieran and Alex for P4. The battle for the podium really kicking off here, and the gap for the race victory is still holding it around a second. Ooh, so Marco, oh no, and they're ghosting for each other. Kieran and Alex getting their elbows out each other. That might have just handed Axelot the final podium position here, but we'll wait and see on that as they're still trading positions. But at the front, he served a penalty here today, and he's just driven absolutely fantastically. J. Cole right now, I just don't see Marco closing in enough to make anything happen. I think this is all J. Cole's now, and he can enjoy the moment.
I think so as well. J. Cole, honestly, in practice, he was looking sensational. So I'm not surprised that he's pulling out the pace he is today. Even Marco has challenged him. Marco was on 1 lap fresher tyres, but J. Cole didn't care. J. Cole's heading towards the bus stop chicane, and what's he going to do, Mike?
Well, he's going to come through the bus stop chicane for the last time here in Belgium, and he's going to cross the line to take victory here in round number 5 with Marco coming through in P2. Axelot is going to hold on to that final podium position with Kieran in P4, Alex in P5, Collie almost getting Alex towards the end here in P6, and then we got Chris with a fantastic result in P7. Nick will come through in P8, but that penalty is going to knock him behind Robite. So Robite in P8, Nick in P9. Lukey will cross the line to complete the top 10, and then we'll have Colin come through to pick up a couple of points in P11. And then it's the case of Casper or Owen, who's going to get that final point-paying position here.
If Casper wants to get a point, he's got to find, I think, 2 temps in this last sector. So he's got to have a lap of his life here, the final few corners of his life here. So here comes Casper. He's within 3 seconds. He's right on the bubble. Oh, Owen's gained a lot in the final corner. Owen's passed. Owen's got the final point, but don't forget, Casper got the fastest lap. 7,000.
Wow. As Pelzi and Alexa will be the final 2 to cross the line to complete the race here in Belgium. But my God, action all the way down to the bitter end, Jess. J. Cole taking a fantastic win. Axlock, Kieran and Alex here scrapping out for the podium, and it was Axlock who came out on top. We had Collie almost getting the jump on Alex in the end. Robert getting the jump on Nick with the penalty, and then 7 thousandths of a second separating Owen and Casper for that final point paying position in P12.
That was amazing. Those final few laps were amazing. And I think well done to all the drivers there. I think we only had one retirement, I believe, and that was it. But everyone else has driven amazing. And I've already know who my driver of the day is going to be.
I think I know who it is as well. Because I'm going to let you take your driver of the day pick first.
Yeah. We'll go through the results and then we'll go through the driver of the day pick. So, here we go then. So J. Cole wins from Marco in second. If it wasn't for that mistake earlier, maybe he could have got the win comfortably. If he only pitted when everyone else did. Atzot in third, Kieran fourth, Alex fifth, Coley sixth, Chris, Robite, Nick, Luke, your top 10. Colin and Owen get the final points paid position, and Casper gets the final point fastest lap. Then that is the rest of your order here with only one retirement of Furious. My sim racing setup driver of the day has got to go to the man who started in 6th place, I believe, or was it 8th? I can't remember. 7th. Okay, I was definitely wrong there. So it was a driver that started 7th, took a car wear penalty. He didn't think he was going to win this one with a car wear penalty, but he had a great start and he got the strategy right. That's what won in the race. So my pick goes to J. Cole, and my question is going to be, you definitely regretted taking one of your car wear penalties tonight. Have you not regretted it now after taking a brilliant race victory? And Mike, what is your pick for Sim Racing Setups driver of the day?
Well, I mean, my pick is someone who started in P12, climbed up the order, came in tonight with a concussion, and got a top 5 result, battling for the podium. My driver of the day goes to Alex. And my question for Alex would be, coming into tonight's race with the concussion, did you ever think that you'd be fighting it out for the podium at the end of the race?
I think those are 2 well-deserving nominees. I think if I didn't go for J. Cole, I definitely would have gone for Alex, to be honest. Definitely well-deserved from him. And, of course, the drivers can vote for those in a poll that opens tomorrow. Now, since I'm not feeling too great, it's not going to be that long before we wrap up the stream. So, of course, we'd like to thank you to our sponsors. We forgot to talk to you about our sponsors earlier on. You can tell my brain is feeling a bit hazy tonight. So, of course, we've got Next Hour Racing. These are the prizes that the drivers could win this season. Of course, we've got one of our new sponsors, Sim Racing Setups. You can get a discount from them if you use the code 5% off. If you use the code OneHubRacing to get 5% off. The details are in at the Twitch chat, and there's also prize for the driver who wins driver of the day the Sim Racing Setup driver of the day each week. Of course, we've got our other sponsor, Pure Sim Gear. You can get a discount of 10% off by using the code OHR10P at checkout, and you can get some lovely gloves and socks from them. Of course, our partners at Vespertine, where they support our merchandise and our payments this year, and also providing some of our prizes. And finally, to our partners at SimGrid. Without SimGrid, there'll be lots of forms and spreadsheets to fill out, and it'll be an absolute nightmare. Next week, we head to a track where the real life drivers are going to go, and I think it's a track where we can see quite a few engine penalties. We're going to be racing at Baku. And what do you think?
Baku is going to be, honestly, it's going to be a race of attrition. And let us all pray, everyone from P1, P2, P3, fingers crossed, put your hands together, let's pray that it's dry. Because we cannot be dealing with a wet Baku.
I do not want a wet Baku either, so I think we're all praying for that as well. But yeah, Baku is going to be interesting. You could catch us next week for that. Thank you to those of you that have been watching live or post-event. We really appreciate your company. Thanks to all the drivers that race this evening. Thank you to Mike, who's joining me in the commentary box, and to all of you at home for watching. I've been Jess Ball, he's been Mike Edwards. We will see you same time, 7:30 for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Will we see a different winner? And with Ben Mills and Callum Anand back, will they be the ones that will be on top of the pecking order? Will it be someone different? Only time will tell. See you next week, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.